Hello and welcome to another edition of Improve Your Grade the 1% Way. Today we're going to look at the word directions instructions given clearly and in good time. So let's look at this one. This one comes under the risk management section of the examiner's form. Now it sounds like an obvious one. I always looked at this one and thought, well, it looks very obvious. Of course, you know, it's really simple, but it's a lot more complex than you'd actually think at first look. We've got two things looking at directions and instructions given clearly and in good time. Now, because it's in the risk section, etc., and remembering 7 or less in the risk section is an instant fail, it's obviously clearly very important. But it's also one that I see, and certainly examiners see, a lot of issues in. We see it quite often, and it ends up leaving problems with a rushed and hurried decisions. And we'll cover this as I go through it all. So this one is very much about planning. You probably think you're planning, but the reality is what I tend to see is driving instructors are planning only insofar as the driving. So basically they're looking at the road ahead and then order the road ahead, and they're thinking all the mirrors and etc. And they're almost like driving from the passenger seat, where the pupil is the arms and the legs, so to speak, of the actual instructor. But we need to move well beyond that. You need to be moving well beyond. So you're not just planning the drive, but you've got to be thinking, so well up the road ahead, you're seeing the road, the junction, and you've got to be thinking, right, in a moment I'm going to be telling my pupil to take the next road on the left, for example. What sort of things am I going to need? When will I need to start talking? What level is my pupil? Now, a lot of this is done before the lesson, but you need to be thinking of it. Do you need to change the plan? A lot of this, I would say, comes from experience. The more experienced you are, the better you get at this. The novice instructor seems sitting there almost tense and rattling out instructions very quickly, and ends up with late reactions, etc., late decisions made. So a lot of it comes from experience, but you've got to be able to sit there, relax, and plan. So you need to be thinking ahead. You know what I said there. What level is your pupil? What level will you need to pitch your instruction at? And it will change, but it does come with practice. One of the reasons why I really recommend the trainee license is because you can gain that practice. You can get lots of experience traveling with different pupils. You can do it there. Now, if you're speaking too late, this can cause hurried actions and possibly you having to use dual controls. I've seen this quite common, where the instructor is not really thinking ahead, not giving the instructions, possibly even at all, and eventually they're almost yelling stop or slow down or jumping on the dual controls. And examiners are often saying, well, actually you didn't need to do dual controls, because what they're saying is if you'd have given your instructions a little bit earlier or even a little bit clearer, etc., then this wouldn't have happened. And speaking too early is not really going to prepare your pupils for real life scenarios or for tests. Now, I know we're not actually preparing pupils for tests as such, we're not teaching them to pass a test, but again, we do need to be thinking about the way and the level that examiners give the instructions, and we need to be working our way so pupils are used to getting the instructions similar to the examiners. And in theory, the novice pupil, or when we introduce a subject, we'll probably give instruction a little bit earlier, and then we will gradually reduce the amount of instruction and reduce the amount of time we give as the pupil gets more experience. The problem is no two pupils are the same. This isn't something that you can do and say, right, I will give my instructions 3.2 seconds, etc., because no two pupils are the same, and for that matter, no two lessons are the same. even your pupil today, tomorrow might need different instructions or different timings, etc. As pupils struggle on one subject, you may need to back off, etc. As I said, if you see a pupil, you need to back off and change the timing or even change the plan. But get the feel of it. If you've got a pupil who the body language or anything is feeling that they're struggling, start thinking maybe you need to give them clearer or earlier instructions or simpler instructions. And remembering also that on a part 3 test or the standard check, the pupil often responds differently. So you need to take that into consideration on the test. Follow the guidance in DT1, the examiner's guide. This downloadable, I wouldn't download it, it takes up too much ink and it changes a lot. But go in there and have a look at it. It gives you clear instructions on the sort of route directions and things that examiners give. And I think it's important that we actually use the same terminology as examiners. Right from the beginning of my lessons, you know, I'm known for being a little bit pedantic, etc. Things like the turn in the road, you know, many instructors call it the 3-point turn, and I never would. I would call it the turn in the road with the use of forward and reverse gears. And the reason I did this is because I was preparing my pupils earlier on for the sort of terminology the examiner would be used. And things like that, you know, keeping that instructions absolutely the same as the examiners. And I feel like you're preparing your pupils better. I've seen posts on social media where people have asked why the examiners use different terminology to the instructors and why the examiners won't give the same terminology as the instructors. Well, there's no uniformity with the instructors, and instructors are given many different types of instruction all over the country, different terminologies, different ways of saying things. Whereas the examiners, of course, well, they all use the same direction. They go to the same school, they read from the same handbook, and they're check tested, every them, whether they're from Scotland or, you know, Cornwall, wherever they are tested that they are using the same terminology. So it is probably better for us to use their terminology. Because, like I said, they all use the same terminology. So your 1% challenge for this week, really, and how you can increase your grade, is I want you to start looking at how different pupils need different timings. Look at different pupils, think about them, what do they need, etc., and start to get a feel for how you can give that. Look at your own instructions, think, are you ending up with hurried pupils who end up at roundabouts who aren't prepared or are a bit confused, etc., etc. Remember, it's never the pupil's fault. It is always our fault. Never ask your pupil why they can't do what you do. Ask yourself, what do you need to change in order to help your pupil? And sitting more tests, definitely listen to the examiner's route directions. I've said this for so much. We really need to start sitting in the tests. It's just one of the great wins all the way around. You get examiners' respect. You get to hear what the examiners do. You get to hear what the examiners say. You see your pupils completely differently. And do go and look at DT1. That's all for the main body of this today. As I often say, if you want to switch off for a minute, then switch off, because I'm just going to talk about one of my books. And here it is. As I say, I do produce books which can help you with various things. They are designed around completely in hand with the DVSA standards. Written alongside, etc. The terminology in these books is the exact terminology the examiner would use, etc. If you're looking to plan lessons, etc., the one I would recommend is the 31 lesson planner there. And I will post a link to this in a while. The lesson planner next to that one is also a very popular one, which we sell. Again, written alongside the DVSA standards, designed for you to help you pass your part 3 or your standards check. They will help you structure your lessons in a way that will give you results.